In a world of endless fandoms, one podcast dares to cover them all. Welcome to Between Two Batcaves, your go-to HQ for everything from comics to the screen and all the IP in between.
Join your hosts, Austin and Jordan, for weekly coverage of the comics, shows, and blockbuster hits that keep us coming back for more. So thanks for hanging with us and being part of the next entry into the Batcave saga. All right, hello and thanks for hanging with us today on this episode of Between Two Batcaves. We are your hosts. I'm Austin Luke and he is Jordan Brownstein. And today we are talking Spider-Noir, the first half of the first season, the newest Marvel project, Sony crossover project from Amazon Studios over there on Prime Video. We're going to be talking episodes 1 through 4 today. You might be asking yourselves, why not cover the full season? And to that, we have to say, we haven't seen the entire season yet.
We have watched what we could.
Let's see, I think it came out on, Tuesday?
Tuesday. We're recording this Sunday
on
afternoon.
On Sunday.
I finished
We've been upfront about it
this morning.
Yeah, I did too. Listen, we're busy people, busy lives. This podcast is for busy people with busy lives. So we're going to be talking first half of the season, and we got a lot to say about that. But we got some other stuff to get into first today. Pass that over to Jordan for some scheduling. But before we do that, if you like what we're doing over here on Between Two Batcaves, please let us know. A few ways you can do so. First, you can follow the pod on the podcast platform of your choice. Next, you can leave a 5-star rating and a review on that podcast platform. And lastly, you can share the show with a friend. Just spread the love of Between Two Batcaves. We've been growing recently, Jordan. This week, we've seen a little bit of growth, and it's been fun.
That we have. We have been seeing a little bit of that, and we're going to get into a little bit of that reflection here. To kick off our episode today, reflect a little bit on Mando and Grogu, how it's been received by us and the community at large, and get into a couple news topics before we jump into our review of the first half of Spider-Noir. Austin, what do we have coming down the pipe? I'm asking you because I'm trying to think, and I know there's a bunch coming.
Dude,
we got House of the Dragon coming this month of June. We've got Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg's new movie comes out.
Probably gonna have to do an episode on that.
Yeah, it's with
Aliens
the way it's being
fit the bill
reviewed.
For us over here.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg, Aliens, Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor will be there. And then the ever-looming Spider-Man Brand New Day. We're now, as you guys listen to this, we are 1 month away from that movie on the calendar. So it's time. It's Spider time. And we're starting it today. We're talking about a Spider-Man property coming from the same studio, technically, Sony Studios. And I'm feeling it. I got the spider tingle.
Yeah, no, so does Nick Cage. And we'll get into that pretty soon here. Oh, I forgot to say, it's 56th episode. What do you got for us today?
56. Shout out to Varys Gooden. That is a deep cut for any of those like 2009, 2010 era Ravens fans. See if you can pull that. I need to start clipping your number pulls. We're at 56
create
now.
A good cross section of fandoms.
Mostly obscure 2000s era Ravens players.
That also just happened to like comic book properties.
Yeah, maybe so.
I forgot to say too, if you're watching Between Two Batcaves on either YouTube or Spotify, first of all, thank you so much. I was talking about growth a little bit earlier, Jordan. We saw some good growth on YouTube this week. That was a lot of fun. So shout out to anybody who subscribed on YouTube.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to take a minute before we dive into the bulk of the episode today, just to talk about, dude, people hate people who talk about Star Wars.
Let's talk about it, because I'm like sitting here thinking about the past week or so on the socials and like wondering, are we the problem? I don't think so. I don't think we are, but like that's the way that talking about Star Wars makes you feel these days.
Okay, so I want to save some of this conversation for when we get into the Oracle report, because it actually ties in pretty well
Yeah.
with something I want to bring up. But yeah, man, I mean, goodness gracious. This is just one of those things that I just like, doesn't matter what the project is, good or bad, no matter what you have to say, you're gonna find it's truly just that toxic Star Wars community. And you and I aren't like toxic people, nor are we toxic creators, but
Let me put my hands
we
up
stirred
for
the
a
pot.
minute.
We stirred the pot this week.
Let me
We
put my hands
stirred
up
the
for a
pot.
minute. We talked about it. There was certainly a sense of self-awareness to what was going on this week a little bit. And listen, to all you Zeb truthers out there, I stand with you. I want Zeb to be done justice. And that's my stance. That's really it. So if you disagree with that, you're just a Zeb hater. But seriously, it's been really fun. People really care about Star Wars, and for good reason. And I think it's fair for us to have standards and to have opinions about when, you know, this is the first cinematic offering that we've gotten in years. Like, it's okay to talk about it and talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. But, at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to an opinion. I love talking about it, and like how this podcast was birthed. So it's a lot of fun.
And hey, to anybody out there listening, just so y'all know, if y'all follow us on the social, if you're not following us on the socials, go follow us on the socials.
We're
And
posting
then
clips
also,
daily at this point on like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube,
and
Facebook.
the engagement is super fun. Jordan and I
Yeah.
both will respond to you on those. We get into some fun conversations over there. Quick shout out here, a little comic cave shout out here. This is actually coming from, it's funny, Jordan, the clip that you just brought up, the Zeb clip about Star Wars' glup shitto problem. My favorite comment from that clip comes from Noah Chrisman on TikTok, and he says, many questions here. One, what that dog doing?
I was hoping somebody would ask.
What's going on with bro's camera, making his face look super wild? And
Yeah,
three,
but-
why not have the other guy's thoughts here too?
Let me acknowledge those out of order. First, number two, I don't know what happened with the camera last week. There was some weird stuff going on with my eyes, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. I think it was the lenses. But number one, what was question number one?
What that dog doing?
That dog digging. You addressed that one. And number three, I wanted to give the people the opportunity to ask that question. Because you're the Zeb truther on the pod. And I'm not a Zeb hater, but I don't have the Zeb experience. So I wanted to leave that a little bit more open-ended for people to kind of to question,
Just after the entire week of people saying we don't know what we're talking about, not real fans, this, that, and the third, whatever. I just, when I opened it up one morning and I read multiple questions. One, what that dog doing? It really got me.
Honestly, little peek behind the curtains. I was editing that episode and just happened to like go over to your track and see that Lola was sitting next to you there, like digging her nest in that moment, and you're just sitting there listening very intently. And like I think sometimes Lola needs to be put on blast for her behavior.
Well, she has been. Noah Chrisman has put her on notice. So shout out Noah for the comment.
Like I said, if y'all aren't, I love it.
If y'all aren't following on the socials, follow us at Between Two Batcaves with the number 2 everywhere except for Twitter, where we are at B2 Batcaves with the number 2, and vice versa. If for some reason you are seeing our socials and not following the pod on either Spotify or YouTube, please do follow Between Two Batcaves. Let's see. I think that's all I got. You wanna get into our little Oracle report today?
Yeah, I think I do. I want to fire up the Oracle report, and I want to kick it to you first because I think we're going to kind of continue this Star Wars Mando Grogu discussion a little bit. Am I right?
Yeah. So our Oracle report today isn't totally an Oracle report. Like, it's not really like a news report today. It's going to be more of a little bit of a lengthier discussion about Mandalorian Grogu in terms of box office reception and critical reception, and then a little bit of a trailer breakdown for the X-Men 97 Season 2 review from Jordan. So we're starting off here with the bit of Star Wars Mandalorian Grogu stuff. I wanted to kick this off with a piece of, not news, but just something that I learned, because this is something that you and I talked about and had a good time with when we recorded our episode. So the character in which you and I refer to as swamp-dwelling catfish guy, I believe, is what we ended up calling him. You're muted.
Swamp dwelling catfish guy. Yeah,
He has a name. Did you know that?
I figured you did. You know,
It's Gattori. Gattori is his name.
like Gator, get
Like Gator.
Gator Eye.
Like Gator Eye. Yeah. Gattori is his
I
name.
like it. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
Respect for Gattori.
Yeah. I don't know. I still kind of like swamp dwelling catfish guy. It just doesn't make sense to me. He's definitely a catfish. He's not a gator. I don't know.
I just don't know if you can come up with as good of a name as Gattori riffing off of catfish.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Yeah.
You have to think about it. Hate to put you on the
I
spot.
just you're right. You're right. Listen, when you're right, you're right. Okay. Okay. So, just wanted to check in here with the numbers and the reception of the Mandalorian and Grogu. Just given kind of like some of the feedback that we've gotten on our opinions of Mando and Grogu this week. So, starting off with the numbers here. This is, of course, according to boxofficemojo.com. Let's see. So, the Mandalorian and Grogu opened up to a roughly $81.5 million opening domestic weekend.
About what it tracked for. Yeah.
Yeah, just north of it, which is so I heard this from House of R, makes it the largest opening weekend for a movie that was coming out of a TV show, like a movie from a TV show. Largest domestic box office opening for one of those. However, this is obviously a very small return for a Star Wars movie. We're sitting currently at 118, almost $119 million domestic, and worldwide we're at $196 million. We are now sitting at the end of weekend 2 for this movie. So I don't know. Any thoughts on this?
I'm just thinking about how whether or not you think this movie is a success or not, whether or not you think it's a success just completely depends on how you frame that question. What does success look like to you? I think overall we came out pretty negative on the movie as a whole on our episode last week. But like I do want to like emphasize the fact that there is a lot to enjoy in this movie, and there was a lot that I think both of us had fun with as we were sitting in the theater. But now a week later, I think a lot of the flaws are highlighted in the way that we kind of anticipated, where when we walked out, we're like, yeah, that was fun, but I'm not going to think about this movie much. There isn't going to be any staying power with this movie, really. And I mean, I think that's pretty true. The only thing that I can really sit here and think about that is really distinguished in my mind is the score from Ludwig, and specifically the Shikari track, which is just a banger, and I listen to it every day. But if you're not thinking about it solely as just like a fun time at the movies that isn't going to necessarily offend anybody outright, and is going to be fun for families to go to parents to take their kids to, and have fun for a couple hours. Aside from that, I think this movie falls flat, and I think the box office numbers show that. That's really weak. Like at 191 now for global box office week 2 after Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, the other side of the coin is that, like, obviously this movie was a lot cheaper to make than a lot of the past Star Wars projects, certainly the past movies and even some of the TV shows to a significant extent. So, I mean, it doesn't have to make as much money as some other projects would have had to. But even still, it's pretty weak.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, this is probably going to be one of the lower box office returns for Star Wars, when accounting, like, when you scale it proportionally for when the movies come out and everything. Yeah, just interesting. I wonder how this, and actually this could be a question for you too, because we're about to go into kind of like the reception of this movie. I wonder, do you think that this movie is going to at all have a negative impact on Star Wars Starfighter, which is coming out the same time next year?
That's a good question. I don't think it will, because honestly, like, even for me, like somebody who has been very critical about this movie, it's funny that even still, there's like that passion for Star Wars that's reignited by going to see a Star Wars movie. And that's undeniable. Like literally yesterday, I downloaded the Lego Skywalker Saga for PlayStation, and Maddie and I have been playing it for the past few days, and have been having so much fun just going through the story. And honestly, like that's the effect that's had the most staying power since seeing the movie. It's just like a general passion for like getting into the Star Wars discourse and the
That's
Star
totally fair.
Wars
That's totally
stuff
fair.
again. So no, I don't think there will be too much negative impact at all on Starfighter's reception. I think that movie, especially because it is so standalone,
Yeah.
I think it'll be judged on its marketing and like what we see of that movie. It'll stand on its merits.
Yeah, and just everything we've seen and heard just makes it seem it's going to be something completely different than what we got here, at least in what we've come to believe of that movie so far. You mentioned you know, just watching Mandalorian Grogu and just kind of getting that Star Wars discourse going again has been fun for you. Let's talk about that discourse a little bit. So, let's see, pulling from here from Rotten Tomatoes, obviously, Rotten Tomatoes has its flaws as a unit of measurement, but it does give a general perception of how people are receiving this movie. Right now, it's sitting at a 62 on the tomato meter and an 88 on the popcorn meter. So this is interesting. Obviously, critical reception sits right around where we kind of landed in that, 60 to 70% range. The popcorn meter, not bad. I mean, 88% for this movie is pretty high.
Dude, as you read those numbers off, I think it reaffirms and kind of cements something, an idea about this movie for me, is that this movie was not for us. This movie was not for people who have been watching
No.
Disney Star Wars TV on Disney Plus for the past 5 years. This is for
Yeah.
people who have either seen a season of The Mandalorian or have seen nothing. And from
Maybe
what I've
just know
seen,
what Grogu is.
yeah, just have like the most general knowledge of Star Wars in pop culture. Because from what I've seen, like anecdotally talking to people online, is that the people who have been out on Star Wars on Disney Plus, who have maybe only seen season 1 and season 2 of Mandalorian or even less, have generally come away from this movie like feeling a lot better about it than I think people who are burdened with knowledge of what has come before. We're burdened with glorious purpose of seeing everything that Star Wars puts out for the most part. And I think that knowledge is to our detriment here. So when you look at, I think that's reflected in the audience score of an 88, which I think the vast majority of people are not as prolific in their Star Wars viewing as we are. And so they're going in and they're like, oh, this is cool. And they haven't seen what we talked about last week, character beats that we see in this movie get played out first in a lot of instances to like more effect on the TV show. They haven't seen that, so they don't have that frame of reference. And so they come away from it feeling like they kind of got their money's worth, which I'm happy about. And I'm okay to like, to a certain extent, I'm okay to let that go and be like, this isn't for us, and judge it through that framework. But also at the same time, I think it's okay for us to be like, hey, we haven't had a Star Wars movie in theaters for 7 years. The last one before that, like Rise of Skywalker, was a failure. I loved Last Jedi, but to go from that to this being the first entry back in, the first foray back in, like I think it's okay for us to be like, hey, the movie doesn't have to be completely for us, but it should at least like acknowledge and validate like the experience of the people who have watched all 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. Give us. I think that's what Marvel does so well, is like be, especially in its early phases, is be open to like new viewers and like have a low barrier to entry for people who don't have the background, but also have enough like deftly strewn in throughout the story to make having watched what came before worthwhile and to pay that off. And that's just not here. So it's all a spectrum, right? Like I think it just fell too far to being like, I don't know. It just, there wasn't enough there to, latch onto for people who have been here on this journey.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. And it's interesting because, so, like you said, we came out kind of negative on it. And so I've been, throughout the week, I've been listening to, the pods that you and I both listen to. I got, the perspective from House of R, got the perspective from the Midnight Boys,
Mm-hmm.
got perspective from friends from work did an episode on it.
Reckless Rebellion. I was
Yeah,
listening to that the other day.
I listened to them. Yeah, shout
Yeah.
out Thomas Carter Rochester, friend of the pod
Yeah.
from
All the guys
Reckless
over there.
Rebellion.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, everybody came out at least in this group of pods that we like to listen to. I mean, people are kind of receiving this show or this movie the same way that you and I are, and I think it's exactly what you said. People that are super fans of this property, of this world, that are watching every single thing that they put out, are feeling tired at this point and for not reaping the rewards of our time in, basically. And so, for us, it's like, okay, the reward was going to be this Star Wars movie returning into theaters, first one in 7 years, and it just wasn't, the reward that we had hoped it was going to be. Something that you and I kind of got ridiculed on a little bit on our socials this week was just like people being like, guys, don't take it so seriously, like it's a kids movie,
Yeah.
like basically that statement. And I'm curious to know like what other creators who reviewed this movie are getting in terms of their reception to their opinions of this movie. But something that I've been thinking of this week is like, okay, yes, we understand that it's a kids movie. Like, I don't think it's appropriate for people, first of all, to assume that, one, we're being too critical because we're viewing it from like this, like, reviewer lens, whatever. I mean, listen, I've been up, I people on the pod who know why I have a kid. Like, I know I watch kids' movies all day long. I know what a good kids movie can be like. And this, I think, can be an interesting entry point for a kid into Star Wars. I said this on the
I
socials
think it
this
will
week.
be for a lot of kids who haven't seen any Star Wars before. Like,
Yes,
this is going to be so much fun. I think Lucy's going to
I'm
love it.
excited to show this to her when it comes out on Disney Plus, granted, to be like, hey, like, look at this, like, because she's starting to get into Star Wars. She recognizes Grogu. And so I'm excited to show her that. That being said, like, it's appropriate for us to realize that this is made for kids, made for non-Star Wars fans, and also be disappointed as Star Wars fans. It can be both. And it's that, like, it's that common thing in Star Wars, in the community, the fan community in Star Wars, that like you just can't have it both ways. You kind of have to fall into one of two camps. And the reality is that's not true. It can be both. It can be both a fun 2 hours at the movie theater, a great time for kids and families, and also be a bad movie. It can be both of those things.
Yep. Yep. I think that's well said.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see, like, I don't know how long of a theater run this movie is going to have. Probably, a good little bit of one.
Yes, it'll stay around for a while. I don't think there is another big, like, tentpole action blockbuster to put up against it, at least until, like, Disclosure Day on the 12th.
Yeah. But yeah, just curious to see where I think we're kind of sticking around this tomato meter and popcorn meter range and see where the box office lands. But enough about Star Wars. Let's move on to
I got a couple quick hits for you here.
Yeah.
All right. So into the Oracle report, we're going to port over to the MCU. First, did you see the Russo Bros' latest Instagram post?
I did indeed.
All right, let me see. I'm going to try something here and share my screen because the Russo Bros just posted the first look at the Latvian flag.
Yep.
And are we seeing that? Are we coming through here?
I am seeing that.
Houston?
It's coming through. Yep.
That's what we got. So that is going to be the Latvian flag in Doomsday. This was posted cryptically, I think, with just like a square of like that color, and then they did the Russo brothers love doing this social media stuff, like kind of social media marketing for their movies, and to varying effect, like from the chairs to this, just you can kind of read through the tea leaves that I think a trailer's coming relatively soon. I would say within the next month or so.
End of summer. I mean, definitely. I'd say before. I would say before Brand New Day.
And it's interesting, just the fact that, okay, so they choose to show the Latvian flag. What does that mean? Why are they showing that aside from just being like, hey, this is what it is? I don't know. Interesting that like Latveria as a state might have some kind of role to play in this movie, because
Mhm.
up until this point, it has kind of seemed like this was going to be Doom on a one-man mission throughout the multiverse to address the incursions and the source of them. But honestly, I mean, honestly, we don't know what the heck this movie is going to be about. That's kind of part of the beauty of it. But that is just, I think, it's interesting that this is the next little nugget that they chose to drop for us.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, is this just like a continuation of like given bits and pieces of Doom? Is this, like you said, maybe a hint that Latveria itself is going to play a role in the movie, which could be interesting? I don't know. I mean, first of all, I like the way it looks. Like something about just like that, like minimalism, like kind of like sharp, jagged design. It's kind of like intimidating. The Doom green in it. I,
Kind of
I
low-key coded.
definitely, dude. Yes, I was thinking the same thing. I foresee lots of merch with this on it.
Oh, yeah.
That is, and I foresee myself getting some of that merch. I can say that much.
Absolutely. Just marching along the train to Doomsday in December. All right. Let's talk X-Men. Let's talk X-Men 97 real quick, because we just got the trailer.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Just got the trailer for season
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
2, and the release date, our suspicions that this was coming this summer were correct, is going to be premiering on Disney Plus on July 1st. So a month from today, if you're listening to this on episode drop date. And holy cow, this trailer. This is a trailer. Basically, we're picking up right where season 1 left off, with the X-Men that we followed in season 1 scattered throughout time, facing off against the supervillain Apocalypse at various stages throughout his reign across time. And we have different factions of that group at different points in time. And then we also have a bunch of new characters, a bunch of new mutants in our timeline in the 90s who have stepped up to fill their void in that world. And man, we are just like right back into the heightened soap opera drama of this show. And I think it's the Newton brothers back on the score that's kicking. And I am so back. So ready.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The Newton brothers. Yeah. Hey, shout out friends from work. They recently had the Newton brothers on. That was a
Great
really good
interview. Great interview.
Yeah.
I really love listening to, especially their interviews with composers through the MCU.
Mhm.
They always have great, insightful questions and get really interesting answers out of their guests.
And the Newton brothers just seem like a couple of cool dudes. So loved listening to that. Yeah, dude. I'm with you. First of all, just like you get a look at just like the animation, and you're just like, dude, I forgot how good this show looks. It just looks so good. You mentioned some new characters. We get Polaris, Archangel, Psylocke, Exodus, and Danger, and we also see X-Force and
Yep.
the X Factor teams represented in this trailer as well. Also, a little cameo from Deadpool, even though it was through the form of Morph.
Great
But
little shot. They used that so well in season 1 to give us little cameos of characters that we know and love that weren't actually in
yeah,
the story.
yeah, dude. I mean, okay. My favorite line from the trailer, it made me laugh, was just, you have a Amon-Sur, Apocalypse, in Ancient Egypt, and you get this line of him saying, "The X-Men, I must strike them at their most vulnerable, the 1990s." And I was just like, that is so funny.
Dude, I think that line, I think, is a microcosm for just what I kind of pulled from the trailer as a whole, which was one of our biggest fears about this season is, the implications of what happened in the writer's room with Bo DeMayo being fired. Is season 2 going to recapture the level of writing that we had in season 1? And like meta lines like that, and just how I think this story is kind of being breadcrumb to us through the trailer. I
Mhm.
feel really reassured in the writer's room on season 2.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that it can at least make us rest easy till July 1st. Let me ask you this. Are you going to do any type of prep work for this show, or are you just going to go right into season 2?
I think the extent of prep that I would do is probably just go back and rewatch season 1,
That's what I
which
mean.
it's not even really prep work because it's so good. But
Yeah.
that's kind of, I was thinking about how, as you're going down the list of characters there are many that I'm unfamiliar with.
Hmm.
And like honestly, I've read one X-Men comic, like one full run. And that was last week. I read the first volume of Astonishing X-Men, the Joss
Hmm.
Whedon book, in connection with friends from work, their Comics Corner read along. And first of all, that was really good. And they're just slight tangent for anybody who's read that. Did There was a brief glimpse at Danger, which I don't know if you did you mention that in your
I
rundown?
did. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Danger. So for anybody who doesn't know, is like personification, like a form projected by the Danger Room, like
Yeah.
the AI of the Danger Room after it's been like infused with Shi'ar tech to just like be super high level adaptable and becomes like
Yep.
a major X-Men villain in that Astonishing X-Men run that I just read. So definitely did the Leo pointing meme there
Timely.
as a timely run, timely choice by Robbie over there at FFW. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. But what were we talking about?
Dude, I don't know. X-Men.
X-Men? Yeah, looks good.
I'm pretty sure it's X-Men.
It looks good.
Dude, yeah, no, we're gonna have to figure out because how to let's see. It's a 9 episode season. Was season 1 binge drop or was it weekly?
No, it was definitely weekly because I remember the conversation after the Genosha episode, like that
You're right.
week.
You're right. We'll
It
have
might
to
have
figure
been,
out
they might have done like a bunch premiere drop. Like there might have been 2 or 3 that they
2
dropped
or 3.
together. But honestly, like with the quality and like the density of the storytelling in season 1, I feel like weekly coverage could probably be warranted here. But
I know. We're gonna have to figure that out. I also
yeah,
really want to try. We've been kind of joking around with it. We Jordan and I have a good friend who goes by Remy, and he's retroactively catching up on some of our Marvel watches, and I feel like we really should try to get him on for some X-Men 97 season 2 episodes. I feel like his insight on the show would be really cool.
do your
Which we
homework.
know
Come
you
join
do
us.
because you send us screenshots. So yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on this X-Men trailer before we move into our Spider-Noir review?
No, man, just yeah.
July 1st.
July 1st, we will be seated at home on our couches watching X-Men 97 season 2 and having a great time with it, I'm sure.
That we will. Da-na-na, da-na-na, da-whatever,
Dun-na.
da-da-da. All right, you want to talk about
That was kind of
Spider-Man?
sick what we just did there. We're just gonna,
You want to talk Spider-Man?
I do want to talk Spider-Man.
All right, let's talk Spider-Man more. All right, we're gonna get into the bulk of our episode here. We're talking about the first 4 episodes of Spider-Noir, as you mentioned earlier, Austin, the 8-episode series that just dropped on Amazon Prime, starring Nick Cage as a 1930s era private detective, Ben Reilly, who also happens to have the powers of Spider-Man. And we basically pick up here. We're in the 1930s, and it's a noir detective story, basically. And where we pick up with Ben, he has been retired from the Spider for the past 5 years after his girlfriend was murdered, and he blames himself for it.
Fiancé, I believe.
Yeah. Fiancé, they were betrothed. That is important. They were betrothed, and he lost her. And so he put the suit away and just kind of committed himself to a life of being a grimy private detective, spying on cheating spouses and doing the dirty work until he gets pulled into a crazy conspiracy involving superpowered individuals popping up all across New York City for the first time since the Spider swung around the streets. And it's all wrapped up in a plot involving Brendan Gleeson's Silvermane mob boss character, who in the Spider's absence has basically established a chokehold on the city, and he is looking to kind of monopolize the power of these superpowered individuals who are popping up all over the city as well. And we got a bunch of classic Spider-Man characters in new and interesting roles here. We have Felicia Hardy, who is obviously being like portrayed as a Black Cat kind of parallel being played by Lee Jun Lee. We also have Lamorne Morris here as a struggling Robbie Robertson, a reporter who's down he's down bad with the spider off the streets, and he's looking for work. And we got a bunch of classic villains too, and interesting and kind of unconventional places here with Lonnie Lincoln and Flint Marko. And it looks like at the end of episode 4, we have an Electro appearance as well.
Electro.
So just a really interesting and out of the box Spider-Man story in a setting that we've never really seen before. And something that I'm super excited to kind of get into here. Like the some of the nuts and bolts of the plot here, especially kind of where we leave off at the end of episode 4. But also just like this project in general and like its place in Spider-Man film and TV.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into discussion, just one question for you. Are you watching in color or black and white?
I'm watching in black and white.
I am too.
Yeah.
Dude, I started in black and white. On episode 2, I switched to color and I was like, you know what? It's better in black and white.
I had a similar experience where I think Maddie and I watched the first episode together. We started, I think, in color just because I saw the kind of the tile of it and it looked so cool. Like the colors were really vibrant. And so we watched the first like 10, 15 minutes in color. And then we're like, all right, let's see what it looks like in black and white. And that was when I was like, all right, this is the way that you're intended to kind of take the story in initially, at least on a first pass, is like immerse yourself in this noir, this period piece, and like just sit in it. And
dude, it's
halfway through the show, it's been great. Yeah, I think it's the right choice, at least on a first watch.
The lighting that they use, you know, like the camera shots, like it's clearly supposed to be seen in black and white, and I think it is. I mean, look, I'll be the first to say that. Like, I'm not like super interested in watching like black and white things, you know, but it is like holding my attention and like drawing me in and like making me notice things that like I wouldn't normally notice. So I'm having a really good time watching this in black and white.
All right, your question, black and white or color? My first question is, like, just like generally, how are you feeling about this show halfway through? Like, because I think people who are listening or watching to this point can kind of sense the excitement and the pleasure with which we're talking about this. But like, let's just come out and say it. What are you thinking?
Why is this show so good?
It's just getting better and better. It's so good.
It's really good. It's really good. Like, dude, Nick Cage, first of all, like, I mean, welcome back, I guess. I don't know. Like,
into this world. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we first see him in this role in the animated Spider-Verse movies, and he's fantastic there as like more or less a comedic relief type role because of the juxtaposition of the noir type character in the bombastic and the craziness of Spider-Verse. Right. But then to port this over into live action TV is something we haven't seen before.
Well, and it's most certainly important to like point out that like this show would not exist without Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse. Like it would not exist without it. So, you know, kudos to those movies for lots of things. But you know, for also now producing a successful, seemingly spin-off series. But yeah, man, it's as you mentioned, it started off solid, held my attention. It was cool. The story, you know, beats. So I was like, okay, I can wrap my head around this. I can sink my teeth into this a little bit. And each episode has just gotten better and better. Now to like where we leave off in episode 4 of just like, you know, kind of this kind of building up. It's interesting because we just had another Marvel series on Disney Plus, but where, you know, our protagonist was kind of leading up to like an all-out citywide war with a crime boss. And this is kind of seeming like it's going to head into a similar direction.
Also a situation where the protagonists have like put away their alter egos for a while. Interesting parallels there too. And they're kind of like compelled to redon that identity in the face of a crisis. But yeah, man, I'm having so much fun with the show. And like, it seems like every episode has gotten better. And I think it's because, like you said, like early on, we're introduced to all these different characters. Like we have Nicolas Cage, his Ben Reilly character, who is just like immediately he's positioned in like really interesting and unique place for Spider-Man to be. Like they call him the Spider here, but like for a Spider-Man to be, where he's lost his Gwen Stacy, who I think her name is Ruby in the show.
Yeah.
I see her in a lot of ways as like a Gwen Stacy parallel.
Yeah.
But he's lost her, and instead of like pushing on as the Spider, he's like cast that identity aside because he like can't think to go on without her there beside him, and he's just like, he's like, I'm not a hero anymore, and that's his whole thing. He's like, I'm a coward. I'm a coward without her. I don't have the strength to do it, so I'm going to do this PI work and spy on cheating spouses and do the dirty work because I'm too scared to do anything else. And like, I mean, like just sitting here thinking, like we've never had a Spider-Man adjacent character presented to us in position, and so immediately you're like seeing the chaos and the crime of the city and the chokehold that Silvermane has on the city, and you know that Ben Reilly's going to have to put the suit back on, and like that tension is there immediately, and so that's just like a great starting point. And you also have Felicia Hardy introduced, who is like I think being played by Lean Jordan Lee, and she's so compelling as like kind of the classic femme fatale, which like also as a noir, I love just how committed to the bit they are with like presenting these tropes with like the PI that's positioned like this, like Ben Reilly. You have the femme fatale, you have the crime boss with Silvermane, you have the intrepid reporter with Robbie Robertson, and like
you have the henchman with
the hench.
Like
yeah. So you get all these pieces set up. And then slowly they just start to become intertwined with each other as this conspiracy involving these superpowered individuals cropping up continues to unravel. And so it's a really interesting thread that you're tugging on with a bunch of like really just compelling characters all around it.
And it's like you said, it's you start off with Ben Reilly, and he's like not just like adverse to like using his powers. He like actively avoids using his powers. It's like you said, he retired from being the Spider, and he means that in every sense. Like he's trying to like ignore the fact that he has these powers and this responsibility.
Dude, yeah, like you get that fight with, I'm just thinking about it, with Sandman, where he gets knocked off the side of the building, and he's like, you're watching him as he's falling off the side of the building, and he's like reluctantly resigning to the fact that he has to save his life. And it's just such crazy. You've never really seen that from Spider-Man before.
And you said, as each episode develops, like we get another character, and like the beauty I think of this show is like each time we get a character, like it actually means something. Like I love our cast here.
Yes.
Obviously we have our main protagonist, Ben Reilly. I really like him. You mentioned his, finally, like he has to suit back up again, and the suit looks awesome. Like the way that the eyes glow, like you can see the webbing in the black mask, even like in the noir black and white shot. The trench coat, it looks awesome.
Real quick, as we're sitting here thinking, do you have a specific moment in the suit that sticks out as you're thinking about the first half of the show? Just like rapid fire.
Yes, there's a moment, I want to say it's in episode 4, it might be 3. He is spying on...
Yep.
And he's on the ceiling.
Yep.
He's on the ceiling.
Because you see him, he's like standing on the floor, and it's pitch black, and all you see are the eyes and like his silhouette. Yep. And then it goes to pitch black because there's somebody coming in the room, and it cuts, and he's on the ceiling, and you just see the lights flash on again. Oh, that's so cool! It's so cool,
dude. Yeah, like his eye, his like goggles are so sweet, dude. I love them. I love them. The character design's so good here. I think it works really well. But like each character's also, I mean, I love like everything we've gotten with Robbie Robertson is super cool. How he's this like said like struggling reporter, and he's like just like. To Ben, he's like, man, like, you want to become the Spider again? Like, I could really use it.
I love that he knows. He knows.
Yes, I do too. I love that he knows.
Yeah.
Janet, freaking love
so
Janet.
Great. So good.
I mean,
dude, she's great. She's such great comedic relief in the show, too.
She's so funny.
Yeah.
She's so funny. So far, like you said, we got Flint Marko, Sandman, we got Lonnie Lawson, we got Tombstone.
Lincoln.
Yeah, thanks. Lonnie Lincoln, Tombstone, and Now, obviously, we have the introduction of Electro.
And we obviously, like, first episode was Molten Man. We lose him
Yes,
early
Molten
on.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like each character, like, and we're actually like getting good development, both with like the Sandman and now the Tombstone character as this like conspiracy of like maybe experimenting on POWs in World War
Right,
II
because
is unfolding.
we find out that like all these guys who are getting powers all served together in I guess it would have been World War One in the same unit,
Oh yeah,
and
World War One.
we learn through I think Lonnie in episode 4 that not only did they serve together, but they might have all been POWs together that were
That's
experimented
what
on,
it
like
seems
you
like.
said.
Yeah.
Which
Because they
is
have this photograph of all
yeah.
of them together, which leads us to believe that like potentially like there could be more characters like
And like who's
revealed.
doing the experiment?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like who did the experimenting? Why? I mean, the why can be simply chalked up to just trying to create super
Yeah.
soldiers, you know. But like, my question is like, okay, do you think like we're kind of building up to Sinister Six in this season? We already got 3.
I mean, maybe not in this season, but if we could hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe get a second season that delves deeper into the story of how these people with powers were given their powers and who did it, maybe then we get into that. Because I think this season, we already have, like halfway through, such an interesting thing going on with Silvermane trying to maintain his stronghold on New York, while also, like, season 4 really developed this, like, battle and struggle between Silvermane and the incumbent mayor who's running for re-election, and who at the end of episode 4 has like found a way to use Ben Reilly reemerging as the Spider to his advantage and like position himself as somebody working with the Spider to clean up the city, especially after that fight with Electro in the street where the mayor just happens to be there and worm his way in for a photo, which I also love how Robbie, even though him and Ben are boys, and Spider's like, don't take this picture. Robbie's like, I need this. Like, I need this picture for my livelihood, basically. So I'm going to do what I have to do.
No, I'm with you. It would kind of convolute the story here a little bit, but I almost feel like we're headed towards that. Like you said, like if we get a season 2.
I think we probably will get some more superpowered individuals that show up.
Okay, ready? Make a prediction right now. We have 3. We have Tombstone, Electro, Sandman.
Yeah.
If we're getting 3 more of Spider-Man's rogues in Spider-Noir to make a Sinister Six, who are we getting? I definitely have my 3.
Okay, you start. Let me think of some others. Give me yours.
I'm going Vulture,
Ooh.
Rhino, Scorpion.
Okay, I had Rhino in mind. Dude, I want to see like some of the old school villains, and like I think I could see Otto being behind the experimentation.
Ooh,
maybe not being a member of the Sinister Six, but being the creator of them, especially if we're talking about like some kind of, demented military doctor doing experiments on prisoners. That would be interesting.
That would be.
But otherwise, I like the idea of putting a Vulture in there with like some rudimentary flying system. And then I also really like the idea of a Rhino, which would be kind of similar, I think, to the Sandman effects that we're getting, where he's like slowly losing control.
And Tombstone.
Yeah, and Tombstone too. Yeah, so I think that could all be really fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I want to talk about really quick is, so a lot of, especially in the second couple episodes, a lot of the plot is being unraveled around the Felicia Hardy character, who goes to Ben after Flint Marco Sandman, basically like her bodyguard, but also we find out her lover disappears after the fight with Ben, and she goes to Ben to help her find him, and that leads Ben to discover that Felicia is like more involved in this conspiracy with Silvermane than he realized before. Like he finds out that she is the one who tried to kill Silvermane earlier in the season. And that then leads to this conflict because as Ben and Felicia are spending time together, there's like an undeniable chemistry and like sexual tension. that develops early on, which is like really interesting because it comes about in the context of one, Felicia like losing her supposed like betrothed, like her soulmate in Flint, who she is like clearly devoted to. And also Ben just like in this constant like pit of misery over losing Ruby 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Even in the context of that, like there is an undeniable chemistry between Nicolas Cage and Lee Jun Lee in their performances that like you can tell early on that something's going on. And for anybody who knows like the Spider-Man lore in the background between a Spider-Man and a black cat, like you know that's there
Fits
too.
the bill.
Yeah. So just I like how they're centering Felicia here as kind of like the key cog in this whole conspiracy that I think now at the end of episode 4, I think we picked a great spot to leave off because we have this crazy development where she on her own figures out that Ben Reilly is the Spider. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Ben, we can talk about how well or he did or did not like conceal his identity from her at that point.
We don't
But
have
she
to
figures it
talk
out.
about it. It was pretty poorly done.
Yeah, but you also got to give her props for like the balls that she had to like call his bluff on it, to fall off the side of a building,
Jump out
to
of a
pull
window.
Lois Lane and make him save her. And
Yep.
then we do get like a pretty overt like Gwen Stacy Spider-Man kind of illusion here. Here we get her being saved, but obviously I think for anybody who has the background, it's like undeniably calling to like Gwen Stacy's death, and then bringing all of his grief and trauma over the loss of his fiance back into it too. So like there's a lot of complicated emotions going on here, like super noir, heightened drama. We have the detective who's getting pulled into something that he's way in over his head. We have the femme fatale who's at the core of it that he just can't deny, but he knows that she is trouble too. We have the ruthless crime boss. Like we're getting some gnarly violence in here with Silvermane cutting a guy's throat like smack dab in the center of the camera. And like the show, it's just I think fully committed to the genre that it's in, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of nails it. This most certainly could be a lot worse if they were trying to do like a cheap imitation of what it was supposed to be, if they weren't committed to the bit, if you will. But the fact that, they are going full blown from every aspect of this show is truly dedicated to creating this, noir project. And if they weren't so dedicated to doing so, I don't think it would come across nearly as genuinely appealing as it is. I think if we could feel, the gaps there, that we wouldn't be talking about it the way that we are. So, shout out to the creators here. I don't even know, and tisk to me for not knowing who the creators are here.
I got you. That's why. That's why I'm here. We got
Oren Uziel.
Oren Uziel. I think one of the main showrunners is Steve Lightfoot, who's like a TV veteran. Harry Bradbeer, and obviously like Chris. I think Chris Miller and Phil Lord are pretty directly involved in executive producing the show too, and makes sense with the Spider-Verse connections. And I think you can just kind of feel however you would define the touch that they have, you can feel it here.
No, you can definitely feel it. They are fully dedicated to making this as authentic as they want. And like I said, it's everything from the get-go. It's just like, hey, do you want to watch this in black and white, or do you want to watch this in color? So the music that they're choosing, the angles that they're shooting this at, the lighting that they're choosing, like you said, the tropes that we're seeing played throughout this, just everything is kind of creating that a genuine noir feel. Question for you here, and this is kind of like a bigger picture Sonyverse stuff. So obviously we've already said it, Spider-Noir doesn't exist without Into the Spider-Verse. Do you think that, so I mean, we've been pretty open that this so far to us is a success. I think it would take a lot of wrong turns for this show to not land the plane, and I don't foresee that happening. So I think that this will ultimately kind of land as a successful venture as a spin-off Spider character series. Do you think that this could potentially set a path for future spin-off series from that Sonyverse? What do you think about that?
I'm laughing because I had a very similar question for you. It was less whether my question was who's the next one we're going to get, basically, or who do you want to
Okay.
see next? Because I do absolutely think that I think there's a groundwork being laid here for the next one to come. And I mean, obviously it's going to be a question of, does it make sense from a business perspective? But at least from a critical perspective, I think we're seeing here how you can take one of these characters from the Spider-Verse who has a distinct universe and we're introduced to it in a fish out of water type of way and then give us a full story in that world. That can be done. I think they will, especially if, like, through a partnership with Amazon Prime, where profitability of their streaming shows is not a major concern. So there's considerably more leeway there when it comes to production value and things like that. Which also I want to shout out here. I think this seeing Spider-Man swinging through Manhattan in 1930s New York looks really
Pretty
good.
sweet.
Especially for TV. Like, I think they did a very good job with, like, if you're going to give us a Spider-Man story, the web swinging has to look good. And
Yes.
it does here. I think the combat looks good. Like, it's presented in, like, again, like a noir perspective. Like, we're getting kind of like that wham bow, like hand to hand, a lot of punching and like barroom brawls. But at the same time,
But
you do get those moments of spider ingenuity. And yeah, it does. Because like in the fight, you get the fight with Elektra at the end of episode 4, and you see Ben Reilly throughout that fight thinking and adapting and like using his spider powers to his benefit. And I just think like this show from a production presentation perspective is, I think, a resounding success.
Agreed. I think that the character that makes the most sense to me that would get a version of this is Spider. Yeah, is Spider-Punk. Now, I do believe that they've already announced a Spider-Punk spinoff movie is supposedly supposed to be happening, but who knows? I think that
sounds daunting for whoever has to do the work to animate that movie, just because of how intricate the animation was on Spider-Punk and Across the Spider-Verse.
Which is why it could work in live action.
Say more.
So if we are creating a live action Spider-Punk spin-off series set in his own dimension, we don't have to have it, be this like super cool, like almost like magazine clipping style animation that they had in the movie. It would just be shot in his world. I don't know exactly. They could do some type of like interesting like filter to it. I don't know. They could like make it almost like like film it kind of like grungy, like kind of like late 90s. Like,
you see, the thing with that though is I think what such a major appeal of the Spider-Punk character in the movie is how off the wall that animation style is.
Oh, it totally is.
If you're going to give us a Spider-Punk story that doesn't deliver that same kind of animation or effect, I think that it's going to be a tougher lift to, make that story to justify that.
The theme, I just think that the themes of anarchy and
can be really cool.
Just like, sticking it to the man, not being a cog in the system.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that Amazon could do pretty well in their shows. They have a couple shows on there that kind of do something like that well. I could see it being, because, you could get a Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen show, sure.
Yeah.
But how is that like super different than the Spider-Man character? It could certainly be interesting. Another one that came into my mind is Spider-Man. Oh shoot, what's his name? Pundrati Parker. Pundrati Parker.
Spider-Man India.
Yeah, Spider-Man India.
Yeah.
Dude, I just love that world.
Prabhakar, something like that. I think it's something to that effect.
Spider-Man India.
Yeah,
dude.
that's one that came to mind for me too.
I loved that world, but I don't know like what kind of I don't know if we got enough from that because like his thing in his in Across the Spider-Verse was that like he was like the perfect
Yeah, that's
Peter.
true.
He was like the
What's
perfect
what's the
Spider-Man.
what's the angle
What's
in
the
for the story? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm just trying to think of people that are like off the beaten path that could get
Hmm.
they could get a spinoff
I'll
and
tell you who.
who
Peter parked the car from Across the Spider-Verse.
send it off.
Hey, low
Send it
production value.
off.
You just need cars. You just need cars.
I can tell you one person for sure who would love that, and that is my daughter.
Hey,
She
if
loves
your daughter would love
Spider-Man.
it,
She
that means
loves
that there
cars.
are millions of other little kids in the world who would love to see that.
That's
I'm talking about Spidey and his amazing friends, but Peter parked car and his amazing friends.
dude. I'm surprised that doesn't exist already. I'm gonna be honest with you.
We'll get there.
It's probably in the works. But yeah, no, I foresee something else coming out. I think this warrants a season 2, and I think that maybe they will try another spin-off series based off the reception of this.
Let me. Here's what I'm kind of thinking about is so we're halfway through this show. I'm wondering where you think it's going because just to kind of take account, we have on one hand we have Ben Riley and Felicia Hardy who have just she's identified him as the Spider and they have kind of I think they kiss at the end of the episode too. So they are romantically involved and they are in this thing together. At the same time, you also have Silvermane, who is now like in this war with the mayor for the re-election, and at Silvermane's side is Flint Marco, who what I thought was like interesting, like another really cool noir trope is he like the disintegration of Felicia Hardy's and Flint Marco's relationship, where he's like going through this transformation into Sandman, and he doesn't think he deserves to be with her, or like he doesn't want to drag her down, and so then he leaves her and fully commits to the criminal lifestyle. And so then we're going to have that conflict where I think once Sandman sees that his girl is with the Spider, like that's going to create some really fun drama, and like the mayor trying to weasel his way into the Spider's good graces, all surrounding this superhero, or not superhero, but superpowered individual outcropping story going all across the city. Like, how do you think it all ties together?
That's a good question. So obviously, we're getting like the tie between, at least right now, between the superpowered people from this prisoner of war camp and Silvermane is basically, Flint Marco, and he's trying to employ superpowered individuals as his henchmen, basically. So I'm thinking that he'll like under his employ maybe get like Lonnie on board too.
Which I think that'd be pretty heartbreaking because we get some really effective stuff in that scene between Lonnie, Robbie,
and Janet and Robbie.
and Janet, where Janet really gets a moment to shine, where she is kind of the one who gets Lonnie to start opening up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I think something will happen. And I foresee at least the 3 superpowered rogues that we have seen so far to all be underneath Silvermane's employ by the end of this season. I think that ultimately, I think that Silvermane's still going to be in a position of power at the end of this season. I think that the Mayor Morris, right?
Yeah. I believe
I think Mayor Morris, yes. I think that he will lose. He will no longer be in. I think Silvermane will choose his next, lackey to fill that spot. I think that by the end of this season, what we're going to see is a New York that justifies Ben Reilly's decision to return as the Spider. Almost like this season acting in a sense as an origin story, even though it's not the origin of how he became the Spider. It's like his rebirth, if you will, timely for, the reemergence of his character, of the Spider character. And if we are granted a season 2, then it'll be just a continuation of the Spider trying to now dismantle this criminal enterprise and further figure out, what's going on and what it means to now have a New York City riddled with superpowered individuals.
Yeah, I like the sound of all that. I am looking forward to seeing like the inevitable failure of the romantic relationship between Ben Reilly and Felicia Hardy, because like I think maybe I'm wrong, but a Spider-Man Black Cat relationship I don't think is ever really set up for success. So I think that there is still like this pull in Felicia to, put herself first and make decisions that Ben probably wouldn't agree with, and see how
Yeah.
that presents itself over the course of the season. I'm really interested in. But I mean, ultimately, I'm just kind of along for the ride. So I think that theorizing is a fun part of it, but I have like full faith in the show to get us to a satisfying conclusion. And I mean, a huge part of that is just the fact that like anytime Nick Cage is on screen, it is just delightful to watch. He has just absolutely mastered this balance between like that legitimate 1930s noir private detective. Yeah, see, like I'm gonna investigate, yeah. And he's like doing that genuinely and nailing it, while
Yep.
also like every other scene, like throwing in these like almost like under his breath like lines that deconstruct that character and like poke
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
it at himself. And he has like these like humorous, like whimsical moments within all of that that is just makes him so much fun to watch every time he's on screen.
Yeah, dude. He is most certainly the star of the show. Yeah, I don't got much else for this. I will say this much. Again, 4 episodes in, and I'm pleasantly surprised by Spider-Noir. I
Want to watch some
know
more tonight?
that when we are releasing this episode, obviously you can go watch all 8 episodes, and we hopefully will by the end of this week. But yeah, sleeper show of 2026.
It's up there for me. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna watch some more tonight, and hopefully, I'm hoping that people out there that are listening and watching us are watching the show too, because I would love to get back on here next week and talk about the second half of the show if people are interested in it.
Yeah, yeah, and if you've made it this far and you haven't seen it, go watch it. I mean, seriously, really, really, you're going to be pleasantly surprised by this show.
Just like a great vibe show. Honestly, like you can
Yeah,
watch it just
yeah,
for the vibe if you want to.
yeah. It's like one of those. Like I tried watching a little bit, like in kind of like as I was doing other things this morning, and I was like, oh, I have to stop. Like I have to sit down and like dedicate all my attention to this.
Yep.
It was yeah, it just out of nowhere surprised me. So it's cool to have like a sneaky show like this pop up before we get into like the big shows of the summer. Like we got House of the Dragon coming up, we have Lanterns coming up. We have all these things, and to get this kind of like surprise, oh wow, this is a really really good Spider-Man TV show right before all that. What a gift!
It's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean something that one when you think about it just on paper, live action 1930s noir detective Spider-Man show starring Nick Cage. Never thought that that's something that would exist, but especially coming off the tails of a couple projects that, didn't quite live up to our hopes and dreams for them in Mando and Grogu and Punisher, to have something here where I think expectations were relatively low, to have them be so exceeded as much as they are it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool.
It is pretty cool. Yeah, no, good way to put that. Any closing thoughts?
I think that just about covers it. I'm having a lot of fun, like with all these actors on the show. Like Brendan Gleeson is doing great work as Silvermane. He's menacing. Karen Rodriguez as Janet. Lee Jun Lee as Felicia Hardy. We talked about all these characters, but they all just, I think, are doing such great work that contributes to a great ensemble cast. That's all I got, man. I'm loving it. I'm gonna go watch some more tonight. If you guys are still with us here at the 1 hour 14-minute mark, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging with us on this episode of Between Two Batcaves. There's something else I'm supposed to say there. I remember now, because you know what? Because
He
we're on the
remembers
socials.
everybody.
We're on the
We are.
socials.
Which is how they're going to find us.
You got to find us on the socials. We are everywhere at B2 Batcaves with the number 2, except for the app formerly known as Twitter, where we are at B2Batcaves@gmail.com.
That is correct. And before you close out of the podcast app of your choice or video platform, just a quick reminder to leave a 5-star rating and review on the pod. Like, subscribe, ring the bell on the video feeds. A little bit of those goes a long way, guys. We will be back here next week doing something. We will be
Maybe
talking
some more Spidey.
I think we'll probably be talking more Spidey. Hopefully, it was a slow news week. I feel like we'll probably have a pretty big news dump this week. So
Yeah.
see about that. It's the beginning of June. It's like summer's really beginning. So I feel like we'll
Also,
have some good stuff.
kind of outside the scope of what we typically cover on the show, but for anybody still listening now that is watching Widow's Bay, Austin, are you watching Widow's Bay?
No, not right now, but I am interested, yeah.
Go watch Widow's Bay on Apple TV if you like funny, scary stuff. I'm having so much fun with that show right now. Maddie and I both are. So anybody out there listening and wants to talk about Widow's Bay, hit me up.
All right. You heard it there. Widow's Bay. If you want to talk Widow's Bay, let Jordan know. So until then, from our Batcaves to yours, thanks for hanging with us, and we will see you next time.
See you. I'm gonna go make some tacos. Thanks.